CNBC-TV18 and Intel present Business Comes Alive, Intelligence Everywhere. The Keynote, AI for a Digitally Transformed India, will share insights on Intel's vision for AI. To deliver this keynote, we have Prakash Mallya, VP and MD, Sales, Marketing and Communications Group, Intel India. Welcome to the event, Prakash.
Hi, everyone. Hope you and your loved ones are safe and doing well. We are excited to bring you a variety of sessions today to provoke your thinking on how do we collectively turn this crisis into an opportunity. Normally, we do that face-to-face every year, and this time it's remote. We live in interesting times, and I would encourage you to provide us feedback on how you thought it went and how we could do it better, taking all that feedback into consideration. So it is definitely an opportunity for all of us together to aspire for an inclusive India. An India enabled by technology and enabled and transformed by technology. So I would like to split my session into three areas that I would like to touch on. First, how do I envision that future India? The India that is transformed. Second, how can tools like AI enable that India? And lastly, how could collaboration across all of us bring that vision to reality? So let me get started. As most of you would know, India would be the top 3 global economies by 2023. As we stand in the middle of this unimaginable crisis, India also, I believe, is at the cusp of a significant opportunity, an opportunity to create a digitally enabled nation. And digital technology can really serve as a catalyst to turn this adversity that we are facing into truly an opportunity. And early trends have already started showing up. 500% increase in telehealth consultations, 3x increase in e-commerce, and so on and so forth. So clearly, technology is starting to make an impact. But when I look at longer term, when I look at the future, there are 4 big trends that I see shape the journey of this country. Let me touch on each one of them. First, I believe everything will be cloudified. Cloud will become this accepted service delivery model for the country. You already see that happen in a variety of services that gets offered, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's digital payments, or whether it's something else. 56% of Indian organizations, as per a study, will adopt cloud over the next few years. Forrester did a study recently that talked about 76% of the global CEOs feel that their business model would get impacted by one trend, that is cloud. Another study shows globally that we have 170,000 software as a service companies. Fast forward 4 years, we will have 1 million software as a service companies. Think about that and the impact that it has for the world, plus the fact that India, being such a software powerhouse, what kind of opportunity it serves for us. So that's the first aspect of how the world would evolve in India, shaped by cloud. The second part is, how does the ecosystem evolve? And I've termed it as ecosystem diversified. I'll give you one example of that. If you look at startups, deep tech startups in the country, there are 1,600 deep tech startups in India. And they have been growing since 2014 at a CAGR of 40%. That is stunning. And fast forward a few years ahead, I would see ecosystem diversify even more. Small and large companies really aspiring to create the vision for the country and transform it as a consequence. And then when I look at the innovation that startups can drive, it won't be just for India. It will absolutely be for the world as well. That brings me to the third trend, which I'm terming as workplace fluidized, talent fluidized. I'll explain it very simply by saying that India is a software powerhouse. We have 4.2 million developers in this country. It is the largest talent base for digital technology. And when you combine that with working from anywhere, a trend initiated and accelerated by COVID, for the first time, I feel jobs will move to where talent is located. Small or big cities does not matter. Versus the other way around, which has been order of the day up until COVID happened, which provides a very significant opportunity for a country like India, full of software talent, to impact the world. And I'll give you again one example of that. Arogya Setu app got built in 21 days. In fact, built and tested by 20 to 30 people. A great testament to the software talent that resides in India. What a fascinating story that is. And if you look at all of these three trends, everything being cloudified, ecosystem being diversified, workforce and talent fluidized, the foundation of it would be the localized infrastructure. I truly believe that a combination of government policy as well as private sector collaboration would create a very local infrastructure to really fuel this innovation forward. Some of it has already happened. You talk about Aadhaar, you talk about digital payment, UPI infrastructure, or you can talk about GST as avenues of digitization that has fueled the momentum. But there is more that is going to come. One example of that would be National Digital Health Mission, which are vertical specific platform that will fuel innovation. So I truly think that all these four trends combined would create the transformed India. And I'm really excited that we all are in the country at this point in time when this transformation is accelerating. And I'm excited to work with all of you to bring that to reality. After talking about the vision, I also wanted to touch on what do we as a company bring to bear in India. India's, as a country, has been so strong in technology adoption, and Intel's commitment to India has also been always very strong. We have been in the country for 22 years. As a company, we are 52 years young, and the future that lies ahead really makes me excited. And let me touch on a few of these opportunities that we have explored so far. One, our R&D capability. We have invested $6 billion over the last couple of decades in this country. And the expertise now in R&D and design spans SoCs, AI, 5G, IoT, and several other areas, which is a great testament to the talent that exists in this country. Not only that, we have invested significantly to raise all boardsome skills. For example, AI for Youth is one such initiative which we are trying to empower youth on AI readiness skills. And our ambition is to get to 100,000 students as a part of this effort in collaboration with Government of India. There are other initiatives that we are leading. PC Pathshala is another great one, which is a cross-industry initiative to really help the students, parents, and teachers to really be effective in a virtual learning environment that we are all faced with today. There are avenues of public and private collaboration that we have explored. One such example would be the work we have done with Government of India and Niti Aayog to create an international center for transformative AI, which is essentially a center where we explore AI-led research-based projects, application research projects. Not only that, when you look at in the recent past, especially since COVID happened, globally, Intel has taken a view of making it better, contribute towards making it better. And that's where Intel's pandemic response technology initiative came about. And as a part of that initiative, we have in India collaborated with NASSCOM task force to put together a pandemic response platform that helps the country to respond faster to pandemics like COVID. And across all of these initiatives, when you think about it, there is one common thread, which is very significantly aligned to our purpose. And that is to create world-changing technology to enrich the lives of every person on earth. And as a part of these initiatives in India, our singular objective is to empower and enrich every Indian through innovation and the power of technology that enables that. So we are very, very excited on what lies ahead and how Intel, along with the rest of the ecosystem, can contribute to that cause. When I looked at all the 4 vectors of transformation of the country, and we talked about very strong commitment that Intel has towards India, I also wanted to touch on what does our contribution mean to developers like yourself, to our customers, to our partners. And I wanted to break it down into 3 areas and combine that with the strength of the ecosystem that we bring to bear. So let me touch on all of them. One is processing. With workloads being heterogeneous, one size does not fit all. And you all as developers would know that more than anybody else. And that's where we have a variety of platforms. Intel Xeon Scalable is the foundation of that technology. It's a centerpiece. And it is, in fact, the only data center CPU that is built-in AI acceleration. And that is purpose-built, I would say, and accelerated in terms of functionality over the last couple of years for workloads like AI. And we don't stop there at all, because you have technologies like XC, which is an exascale GPU, and a low-power instance of that has been integrated into Tiger Lake platforms, the client platforms that we launched a couple of weeks or so back. And when you look at high-performance computing and AI kind of workloads in the cloud, you could combine XC GPU with Intel Xeon Scalable processor, which offers a great solution for those workloads. Then you've got other solutions like Intel Agilex FPGA, which works very well for AI workloads on the cloud to accelerate it. Or when you touch on Intel Movidius, which is edge AI and inference kind of workloads where efficiency or power management becomes very, very critical. That is a very cool and very interesting solutions for those workloads. And of course, low power edge applications could also serve very well with Intel Atom processors. So you have a broad array of architectures that solve for a variety of workloads, especially in areas like analytics and AI. The second part is the innovation that we have been on in area of storage, the Intel Optane Persistent Memory 200 series, which essentially is technology to have very large memory to help and support the analytics and AI kind of workloads to crunch data faster and very near DRAM-like performance, but at fraction of the cost. Innovation that we have brought to bear by really bringing the power of Moore's law into storage technology. So that's a very, very cool innovation that really complements the processing engines or the architectures that I talked about. The third element is software and tools. And we are really excited about one API. And the developers around the world, including all of you listening in, you can start working on your code base with one API tools. And there is a dev cloud that you can access for that. Then we are also talking about OpenVino toolkit, which is very, very cool and unique because that is a toolkit where you can pick up your machine learning or edge inference kind of workloads and use the tool to code it once. And then the same can be run across a variety of architectures, whether it's CPU, whether it's GPU, whether it's FPGA, or whether it's VPUs like Movidius. And that kind of functionality and flexibility, very few toolkits offer. So leverage it. And the last part of it, stitching it all together across the architectures, the storage technology, the software innovation, is our ecosystem. A case in point is AI Builders, because that provides you the community, the binding force of all innovation and technology-led efforts is the community to solve a common cause by engagement, by matchmaking. And that's where AI Builders comes to play. So this is a summary of all the value that Intel provides to ecosystem like our developers. So my request to you would be take advantage of it. As I talked about the collaboration and the value, the technology, the innovation that we bring together for developers like yourself, I also wanted to touch on what's happening in India today. It is a hotbed of innovation. And there is one company which is the front runner in the area of clean energy. And they have put together an EV solution, and they are in fact putting together EV charging stations around the country. And that's Sun Mobility. So we have with us the Sun Mobility co-founder, Chetan Maini, to come and talk to us about what is his vision for EVs in India, and what does he believe tools like AI can help shape the country. So over to you, Chetan.
Thanks, Prakash. Pleasure to be here today at the Intel conference. Our journey at Sun Mobility started around 3.5 years ago. Sun Mobility is a venture between the Sun Group and the mining group. We've been doing electrics for 45 years, and the Sun Group's been doing a lot of work on renewable energy. And this is the perfect mix of the two areas coming together to really redefine what the future mobility is. And this future mobility, as a lot of you know, is one that's going to be electric, connected, shared, autonomous, and powered by renewable energy. And the connection of these intersections of these areas is what will really redefine mobility and create new innovative ways of how we can look at it. Now, from my perspective of doing electrics for over 20 years, I try to understand why weren't they as successful. And I saw 4 core challenges. One was the cost of electrics was very high. 2, people were very concerned about range anxiety. The third was areas around the long refueling time. They were used to refueling in 5 minutes, and charging took you over an hour, sometimes even 8 hours to do. And then there's a lack of infrastructure. So unless we solve these issues, I didn't really see a way that electric mobility would really take off. Now, if you separate the batteries from electric vehicles, you could get the cost of electric vehicles to be very similar to internal combustion engine vehicles. And if you could swap them out in a couple of minutes, you could address both the range anxiety and long refueling time on this area, in addition to lower upfront cost. So providing battery as a service or energy solutions as a service on this area was the way out, where you really don't own the battery, but you pay as you go and you use it. To enable this, we had to really create a new technology stack. So we created a technology stack of 4 key pieces. The first was a bunch of smart batteries that were internet connected. They had 3 onboard computers, very long life lithium-ion batteries. 2 are smart quick interchange stations that you could swap these batteries in and out. We could do over 200 swaps in a day, mimicking a gas pump. The third part was a quick and easy integration with multiple platforms so that you create an open architecture solution, be it 2-wheelers, 3-wheelers, and all the form factors. And the fourth was a smart network that connected you, the customers, the vehicles, the batteries, the stations all together, and ran this on a network on the cloud and AI to manage it, and connecting all of this over time into a renewable energy grid system on this area. So how does this really work? Well, what you do is you just drive up to a station, you pull out the battery, You use an RFID chip that would card that would touch with the station, and it would authenticate you. You push your battery in, it would tell you how much energy you've used. It automatically would deduct this amount from your cloud and your wallet. You take a new battery, you put it in, and you drive off. The entire process is probably a minute. So what we've done is creating refueling that is cheaper, quicker, and more convenient than regular refueling. And this is what we think would make an impact. And it's across over 22 million vehicles, all forms of two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and transportation forms up to a ton, which would look at one battery, two batteries, or three batteries. So it's very simple in terms of the solution that we've looked at of how we've gone through this area. A key part of all of this is really our ecosystem collaborations. So on one side, what we did is we teamed up with 10 OEMs where we could quickly integrate our solutions to go forward. The second piece of the puzzle was working with customers. So we have Uber, Smarty, a host of other customers on board that would look at deploying this. The third was looking at an infrastructure play. So in addition to dealers and others, we have teamed up with Indian Oil Company that has over 30,000 outlets. So we can make the accessibility of stations the same way as it is for regular refueling. And recently we have a strategic alliance with Bosch, which we can help accelerate our entire technology and our deployment across India and at a global level on this front. But throughout this entire area, Intel partnership has been a very important part. The stations that you saw earlier on this area have an Intel processor in them, right? We have the NUC and the NUC in this area. And what it really does, it's looking at taking all the data continuously from each battery coming in. It's processing all this data. It's looking at the edge. We're doing all of this work, analyzing it, making decisions on this area, and then setting it to cloud. So it's a very important part of the entire station and the entire network as we're looking at creating on this front here in the entire system. Right? And AI, and the whole conference around AI is a huge part. We start to think about it. You're looking at different forms of transportation. You're looking at vehicles being used differently. We have over 150 data points coming every second from every battery. You're analyzing it, how batteries work, how do vehicles work. You're looking at how stations are performing in real time. You're looking at diagnostics, prognostics, predicting issues that you would have on this area, and optimizing the entire network. In the future, you're starting to look at things of how you could look at when people are using energy and when is there a surplus of energy available, and connecting the two. For example, imagine that the renewable energy cost structures and renewable energy is available at a certain point of time. Well, you also know transportation demand, and so therefore you could match the two together with a buffer storage of batteries that you would have. So the optimization doesn't just go into the vehicle side, right, but it also goes into the entire ecosystem. It goes into the fleets, it goes into energy, and the entire confluence of what we talked about, the fact that it's electric, shared, connected, and powered by renewable energy. And that's why I see AI playing a large role, and the optimization can help reduce costs by 20-30%, which will make a huge impact on consumers to go electric in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Chetan. It is so inspiring to listen to your story, and I'm sure it's inspiring for all the audience as well. Now, we have another interesting use case named Switch On, and it's an industrial technology company that has used AI to improve and enhance insights in a traditional space, manufacturing. It is converting the heavy assets into its digital twins that can help shape the journey for manufacturing organizations. So I have with me the co-founder of Switch On, Anirudh Banerjee, who can come and talk to us about his view of areas like manufacturing and how it can be transformed through AI. Over to you, Anirudh.
Thank you so much, Prakash, for the great introduction. And indeed, manufacturing is, as we speak, going through a great deal of transformation. And what I'm going to talk about is a little bit more about what are the bigger technological trends that are driving this transformation in manufacturing. And I've here taken a specific example of the automotive manufacturing customers, where, as you can see, that our products in Indian manufacturing are right now reaching almost global standards, and the customers in India are becoming much more discerning in terms of a world-class audience. What this has led to is obviously a great amount of demand for increased usage of technology in the manufacturing sector, because now we are suddenly having to give the quality and the product output that is typically required by such global manufacturing outputs. This is the space that is driving a lot of demand for AI as well in technology, because manufacturing being a very classical sector has not been used in the AI parlance as much as the consumer and the enterprise tech. So to give you a small example of the kind of problems that manufacturing is facing, I'll talk about something called a welding quality defect, in which what typically happens is that the way the welding quality is done as of now is in a completely manual method with something called a destructive testing, where you kind of cut the weld in half and find out what kind of welding has happened. This is a completely manual, very subjective, and a very random process, which in most cases leads to a lot of problems as you speak about the 100% quality defects. The way that SwitchOn approached this is to basically try and create a digital twin for the welding system with the help of sensors and, of course, a very high frequency acquisition system that we used. We layered this on top of this an Intel powered edge compute system that was able to detect the welding signatures as and when the welding was happening. This let us kind of significantly impact the acquisition of the weld signal, and from there find out as and when the welding is happening whether there was a good or a bad quality defect. So to give you an example of how this finally looks, of course we have the good weld on the left, and you can see the signature of that, and then we have the bad weld on the right, and we have the signature of that. And this is really the first time where the manufacturer is able to see the quality of the weld in real time for every single weld that he is doing, and not just for one weld in 1,000 parts and so on, obviously helping him significantly impact the quality of the products that he is making, and at the same time drastically improving the speed at which the manufacturing is done. To get to this use case, of course, we needed to do a bunch of data processing, firstly in very, very high frequency data domain. So for that, we built out the high frequency sensor engine, which can, of course, connect a bunch of sensors that we already have support for, but also has the ability to connect other sensors for driving other use cases. And then, of course, the heart of the whole application is the Xavier digital twin system, which creates digital twins of such critical processes on the shop floor. Welding is, of course, just one example of this. We do it for stamping. We do it for a bunch of other use cases in automotive, FMCG, and even other kinds of manufacturing. And then all of these insights are essentially delivered to the insight engine of the customer. A special mention here of the Intel platform in being able to get us to the kind of speeds that we require. So most of these are very high speed applications, bordering on about 10 to 12 products in a single second. And we are able to do the inspection and detect the quality of these at that speed. The other point to mention is that the Intel Dev Cloud has really helped us also in identifying such bottlenecks in our performance, and has been able to support a completely remote deployment for us in certain kind of use cases. And as we speak, we are actually expanding to a lot of the other kinds of digital twins. The vision for the company is to help the manufacturing industries through a library of such digital twins for different kinds of critical assets. We right now have support for stamping, welding, motors and gearboxes, inspection. We are adding support for a lot of others. So this is the area in which we operate, and this is the use case that we are trying to solve. I think that in overall the Indian AI industry is ripe for a lot of innovation now with the help of compute and with the help of open source architectures like TensorFlow, Python, etc. And it's time for all of us to get to the drawing board, I think. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anirudh. These are some excellent examples of the fantastic work that is happening, especially in the area of AI in India. And I'm sure these inspired you, these created ideas in your mind to explore, to build world-class AI solutions in this country. And we would be happy and keen to collaborate with you to bring that to reality. So let me summarize with a few call to action and bid you goodbye as you attend the rest of the sessions for the day. The first one is a call to innovate. The Intel AI Developer Program is a window into so many tools, so many curriculum that you can take advantage of. You can build your skills. You can build the skills of your company as well. It also has access to a dev cloud. So leverage it. The second is a call to create. And you can do that by learning more about our tools. We talked very briefly about Intel OpenVINO Toolkit. There are other tools as well, like Parallel Studio XE. And these are great set of toolkits that can help you create high performance AI applications. So learn more about them and implement those learnings as you build your AI application. And the last one would be a call to collaborate, because in areas like AI, everybody is pushing the boundaries on what's possible. And I was just reading yesterday about how people always talk about AI and unstructured data being correlated. But there's a lot of work happening in AI in the world of structured data. So that is just one example of how the world of AI is evolving constantly. So opportunities to engage with Intel AI builders, and that is an ecosystem which has 100 plus AI solutions that you could really get a sneak peek into. And that not only helps you to understand and learn the world of AI, it also helps you in your go-to-market. It also sometimes helps you through this matchmaking reach different parts of the world. So maximize your connection. And we are actually very happy that this ecosystem or a community has been established by all of our customers, partners, and developers that you can take advantage of. And I would summarize my talk by saying that India is really starting to transform itself even faster as a consequence of the crisis that has also turned into a significant opportunity to use technology to leapfrog the nation. This journey would be one of immense learning. This journey would also push the collective thought of what we believed earlier was possible. And through very close collaboration with all of you, we can bring that vision of India, a vision of transformed India, a vision of inclusive India to reality. So wishing you the very best. You are the future of the country. And we are very, very keen to help you realize your potential through the significance of tools like artificial intelligence to shape that journey. So thank you very much. All the very best to you and your family, and look forward to engaging with you sometime soon again.
Thank you, Prakash, for that wonderful perspective on the incredible opportunities that lie before us in AI. Our next session is Leading with Intelligent Edge. To attend this, please return to the virtual platform's Keynote section.